The room is silent, too silent for a dinner. A footman holds his breath because a glass is slightly out of place. No one speaks. No. One moves. Then she raises her eyes. No word, no gesture. The glass is corrected immediately. You can possess power for a lifetime. And yet sometimes a single glance is enough. This woman was called Mary. In official images, Queen Mary appears as the perfect consort, calm, disciplined, reliable. It is certain she stabilized the British monarchy during a period of transition, but that is only the official version. What stands out is this: she did not stabilize it through charm, but through structure. The real question is, was stability her goal or her instrument? May 1867, Kensington Palace, London. Mary was born in the same room where Queen Victoria had been born 48 years earlier. The family called her May, after the month of her birth. Her father, the Duke of Teck, held titles without wealth, morganic descent, no inheritance. Her mother, Princess Mary Adelaide, loved society and lived far beyond her means. She weighed about 250 pounds. She was called Fat Mary. Queen Victoria wrote of her, "Her size is fearful. It is really a misfortune." But the public loved her. She was generous, too generous. By 1883, it became impossible. The family had to sell valuables to pay creditors. Then they fled to Italy, to Florence. Life was cheaper there than in London. May was 16 years old. She became her mother's unofficial secretary, organized parties, correspondence, finances. In Florence, she visited museums, galleries, churches. She developed an eye for objects, for history, for order. It is certain May grew up with insecurity. What stands out is this: she did not respond emotionally, but organizationally. In 1885, the family returned to London, but May had learned control is more valuable than comfort. By the late 1880s, May became a candidate. Queen Victoria valued her discipline. The family valued her reliability. December 1891, Luton Hoo, the residence of the Danish ambassador. Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence, asked for her hand. To her great surprise, as she later wrote. The wedding was set for February 27, 1892. The nation rejoiced. The press celebrated. May was to become queen. Then, 6 weeks later, he died. January 1892, Sandringham House, influenza, then pneumonia. He was 28. May was with him. So were her parents, his brother George, his sisters, 3 doctors, 3 nurses. The nation was shocked. Shops closed their shutters. Queen Victoria wrote in her diary, "Poor May, to have her whole bright future to be merely a dream." May wrote about Albert's mother, Princess Alexandra. The despairing look on her face was the most heart-rending thing I have ever seen. But May showed no despair, not in public. A year later, after an appropriate mourning period, Albert's brother George asked for her hand. She said yes. July 1893, St. James's Palace. They married. Officially, it was tragedy. Unofficially, it was function. Their marriage was not based on passion, but on compatibility. George collected stamps. May collected order. Contemporaries called it a successful marriage. What they meant was, it worked. After the wedding, May began building systems, first on a small scale, household staff, procedures, then invisibly. She collected, not randomly, strategically. Oh dear, she once wrote. If only I could find the history of all these things, how interesting it would be, but alas, there is no inventory, nothing. She added over 2,000 objects to the royal collection: paintings, miniatures, figurines, enamel, gemstones, 3 Fabergé eggs smuggled out of Russia after the revolution. An antique dealer in Delhi reported, I sent her Jaipur enamels and jade elephants. She bought 'em all. She wrote proudly, "It is really rather wonderful what we have managed to collect since. We married quite a creditable collection of family things, without spending much. Money over it. Without spending much money, that mattered to her. But how did she collect then? Aristocratic families told another story. When Queen Mary came to visit, they hid their most valuable pieces. She admired an object, spoke about its history, made it clear she would like to have it as a gift or for a nominal price. What could one say? No? London antique dealers complained she often did not pay. Some called her a kleptomaniac. Historians disagree. It was not a disorder. It was the exercise of power. It is certain. May collected objects with royal provenance. It is debated whether she preserved them or claimed them. What matters is this: May did not collect things. She collected control. January 1901, Queen Victoria died. George's father became King Edward VII, and George and May became Duke and Duchess of Cornwall and York. Then came the Empire Tour. March to November 1901, 8 months. The ship was called RMS Ophir. The route: Gibraltar, Malta, Egypt, Ceylon, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Mauritius, South Africa, Canada. No royal couple had ever undertaken such an ambitious tour. May broke into tears at the thought of leaving her 4 children for so long. But she went. The children stayed with their grandparents. November 1901. They returned. Her youngest son, Henry, was under 1 year old. He had no memory of her. He cried when May tried to lift him. Her daughter Mary clung to her grandmother's skirt. May's reaction? She was hurt. She felt rejected. Not, "They missed me and are confused," but "They do not want me." Her eldest son, Edward, called David, helped the situation. He stepped forward, greeted his parents, pushed his brother Bertie forward. Bertie, 6 years old, was frightened. Shortly after, he developed a stammer. It would follow him his entire life. May saw her children for 30 minutes a day. When they traveled to India in 1905, again away for months, she wrote rules for the children. David and Bertie were to write every week in turns. When it failed, George wrote an irritated letter to Bertie from Delhi. "David ought to have written last week, and you ought to have written to me this week. I don't know how the confusion has come." He was 9 years old. May embodied order, never exhausted, never improvising, never unprepared. That was deliberate. May 1910, Edward VII died. George became King George V. May became Queen Mary. She dropped one of her names. Victoria Mary became Mary. She did not want to echo Queen Victoria. She wanted her own identity. As queen, she wrote to her eldest son, "I believe the right way for you to address me is the Queen." Not mother, the Queen. Contemporaries reported a woman who changed rooms without speaking. It is certain she consistently avoided scandal. It is debated whether she also suppressed individuality. Her youngest son, John, had epilepsy and developmental difficulties. He was placed in seclusion. The family rarely visited him. He died in 1919 at 13. Her daughter Mary, the Princess Royal, struggled with her mother. Queen Mary called her stupid and useless because she was not like herself. Her son Henry wept hysterically when his mother entered a room. Her son Edward, David, had affairs with married women, especially Americans. May never spoke to him about it until it was too late. January 1936. George V died. David became King Edward VIII. May did not say, "My son." She said, "God save the king." And she curtsied. Edward later wrote, "I could not bring myself to believe that members of my own family should be expected to humble themselves before me in this way. 11 months later, he abdicated for Wallis Simpson. May called her an adventuress. She refused ever to meet Wallis. No member of the family attended the wedding. May's second son, Albert, Bertie, became King George VI. May supported him, but her disapproval of Edward remained. Both can be true. March 1953, Marlborough House, London. Queen Mary died of lung cancer. She was 85, 10 weeks before the coronation of her granddaughter, Elizabeth II. She had outlived 3 of her 6 children. Today, Mary appears contradictory. A woman without charm who gained trust. A woman without warmth who created stability. A mother who did not know her children, but saved the monarchy. She once said of herself she was emotionally ill-equipped for her children, but for the crown, perfectly equipped. Perhaps she understood something monarchies rarely say aloud. That power does not have to be loud. Sometimes it is enough to create order and remain black.